I'm Mike Creevy for Homeschool Connections, and with me today to talk about something a little different than a lot of these other interviews. I'm excited. Lindsay Carpenter is joining us. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. And this is, like I said, this is a little different here. Usually we're talking to individual instructors for Homeschool Connections about sort of their background and their courses, what to expect in their courses. In this case, we're here talking to you about a way to access and sort of utilize the Homeschool Connections curriculum within a homeschool co-op. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just why don't you tell us a little bit about just your own background, kind of what led you to Homeschool Connections, and then we can get into more about how that's working out for you.
Yeah, I have a degree in fine arts and then also a degree in education, and so I taught in the public schools for a number of years, and then my local group of friends, once I started having children, were homeschooling, and so the public schools weren't a great option for us, so I've been teaching other homeschoolers or homeschooling my own kids for more than 15 years, and, my public school background was helpful in boosting my confidence, I think, as a teacher, and also to start this
Sure.
group curriculum development in that. But so I'm an artist and an illustrator as well. And so I have four girls of my own, my husband and I, ages
Oh, wow.
16 to 8. And so we've been homeschooling them. And I've taught in large co ops and smaller groups. And this starting this group was sort of an answer to finding the middle of those things. So, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, so now how did this sort of seed germinate here with this idea of possibly, including, or at least including portions, of the greater sort of, curriculum, or, the kind of framework, having it include some homeschool connections courses, how that sort of develop?
Well, the Maureen, the founder of Homeschool Connections, is local to me and went to my parish, and so I had really firsthand access to all of her knowledge and knew
Sure.
a lot of people who were using the program. And I had never used it at home myself. And then someone just suggested it, and it just seemed a great way to not reinvent the wheel. As we're starting a group, we didn't want to start with just nothing. So these classes were a great framework with great professors and instructors that just made it easy for us to start the group, but not have to create everything from scratch. So that's kind of how it.
Sure.
Maureen was a great resource for me, and also a lot of local people, like I said, that have been using connections
Sure.
classes for years and years. So it was a great way for me to start using the classes at home and then in the group.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I'm just curious, because how does that work, with, is it like individual families sort of, select courses they want to do, or certain ones that you've picked, you kind of pull those resources? How does that work?
It was pretty selfish, I have to say. A friend of mine who we were both tired of teaching in the really big co-ops. I mean, my own homeschool was suffering a little bit because of all the work I was doing for, the classes I was teaching other people's kids. So
Hmm.
we both had desired something smaller, and we just kind of we said, well, this is what our kids need. Let's see if anybody else needs it too. And so we were a part of a big social group, a big email, grouping of
Hmm.
local moms. And so we just put it out there. And the first year it didn't work, didn't get any
Hmm.
takers. And so I said, we'll just use homeschool connection classes at home, see how we like them, and then try again. So the second
Sure.
year I put it out there again, and then people bit. And it just seemed to be, last year was our first year, and it seemed to be a really sweet spot, a real niche for people who didn't want the big co-op, but also needed their kids to have something with the group. So
Sure.
it was a really nice group of families last year that we had, and we're heading into our second fall, and we've doubled our families, which is we're at a cap. We definitely can't grow much bigger, both logistically and just being able to handle that many students. There's three teachers.
Sure.
And it's yeah, so we just I think we fill that gap between a large group and then your kids and a social group.
Sure.
So, in the homeschool connection classes, we've chosen the ones that work for us and say, "Come along," if the with a
Sure.
little bit of give and take, but we're choosing the ones that work for our families, and then trying to bring along families who need the same thing. So,
Sure. Yeah, and
yeah.
maybe walk us through a little bit more of that, if you don't mind, as far as the challenges here, because I think sometimes it's important for us. You see this in some of Homeschool Connections, blog posts, things
Yeah.
teachers say. I think I've been very impressed seeing the willingness to share, in that kind of unafraid spirit of saying, "Hey, look, this didn't work, or this this seems to work better,"
Right.
um, and being willing to sort of kind of follow those leads. What's that been like as far as your own experience so far of what's been more of maybe an obstacle or challenge versus some of the wins?
Yeah, I would say the classes that we chose last year, we did have to switch midway a couple of things, and that's always just your general learning curve. Some
Hmm,
classes worked better for a group in-person format. We were using all recorded classes because no one could quite get the
sure,
time right for a group setting. Some families were using live classes at home, but for ours, we were using group classes. And there were a couple that just didn't seem to work right, or were creating a lot of work for the teachers at home to supplement to fill a time space. So that led us to
hmm,
also know we had to adjust our time schedule of our day as well.
sure.
We had too long of a class for this subject and vice versa. And so we really just, I would say you just have to know your group, know your kids. We have a lot of junior high boys in our group, so we we had to adjust how much free time and free space they had in between classes.
Hmm.
And so some classes worked and some classes didn't. We made a switch halfway through the semester and switched to a different course. And that was just what we needed to do. And then going forward, we kind of looked at each course and the outline and the workload and just kind of judged them individually for our group and
Sure.
decided, okay, we'll try this one. But always we just had to make a lot of adjustments. But that's true with
I feel
anything
like
new.
that's a great lesson for all of us individually, and for parents too. Anybody in a mentorship, sort of a role,
Mhm.
right? There's that temptation to, there's the difficulty, I should say, between teaching the importance of sticking to a commitment, right? When it gets challenging
Yes.
and helping your kid fight through obstacles, and sometimes recognizing, this wasn't a good choice.
Right,
you know,
and that was
like
good
we're,
for our students to see as well, like,
right.
the one class was just not working, everyone was
Yep.
struggling, including the teachers, and so we said, "You know what, let's at the semester
Yeah.
break or let's try something else." So, it was good for
And that
everyone.
And that for those who do go to college too, someday that's an important skill. I remember I changed my major
Oh, yes.
after the first semester of college. And I'm not recommending people just
Right.
again, you don't want to just, oh, it's hard, I want to drop it. But
Yes.
I just knew it's like this isn't it. And I'm so glad I did that,
Mhm.
and I had influences in my own life, I think, before that made me recognize that there is that difference. So maybe
Yeah.
that alone is just that teachable moment.
Yeah, if this year we're going into it with, quite a few changes based on our experience last year, and like I said, doubled the families, so we've got,
Wow.
we've grown and we have a lot of, just lessons that we did learn last year, so I feel good about our fall, and
Sure.
I think we've made the right changes,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it will evolve as our students change too, so we just
And what does it typically look like? Just, I mean, like as the students gather, maybe just give folks a little taste of kind of how it goes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we start our day we meet at a local parish who had this old preschool building not really being utilized. My husband works at the parish, so kind of had an in there. That's one of the
Hmm.
hardest things is finding a space.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate in that area, and the pastor is very supportive of homeschoolers, so that helps.
Good.
And so we meet and we attend mass. The local parish has mass, and then we go to our building, and our day is from 9:30 to 2, and we only have junior high through high schoolers because that took away
Hmm.
so many, there wasn't really the grade school program was still forming, for homeschool connections, but so we have older kids where it allows for less chaos, well, mostly less chaos, but in terms of what we can offer and keep the students like create friend groups. And so there's 4 classes for the high school group and 4 classes for the junior high group throughout the day. And
Sure.
and so we switch, we have different teachers, so we have 3 teachers in total. And it is a co-op, but we're not having parents be there all day. It's kind of a drop-off situation,
Hmm.
and the students really, formed a really nice group of friends last year, and they're excited to return. And yeah, our day is very centered around doing the projects we can do together. Things that are hard to do at home, science labs, art projects, debates, discussions, peer editing of writing. So all the things that are difficult to do at
Sure.
home and parents sometimes skip, that's what we're focusing on as our group. So
Oh,
that's
very good.
that's typically how our day goes. And then there's homework, and of course watching the recordings at home happens offsite, at home each week, and then we come back and do the big
Sure.
fun things, the messy things together.
Well, this sounds great, Lindsay. Just a really, interesting way to access Homeschool Connections,
Mhm.
and all that Homeschool Connections offers in a, somewhat different kind of way, and it just shows the versatility of it. Is there anything else you want to share at this point, at least, or any contact info or links for anybody?
I think I would say that I have the local benefit of having Maureen local, but
Hmm.
they've been very good. Anytime we've had to ask anyone at Homeschool Connections for help, they've been very quick to respond. They gave us a group discount for a co-op group together, so they've really been very supportive. And so I would say don't
Sure.
hesitate to reach out if this is something you're thinking of using the Homeschool Connection classes for. Um, it's very doable, and you don't necessarily have to join that big co-op. That's such a time commitment. It's a small group. I always wanted to homeschool in this way, but it
Sure.
just didn't work out until now. And so,
Right.
it if you find a like-minded set of families, you can really have such a nice small group community. That's what we really like
Yeah.
about our group the best is the small atmosphere. They're still having peers, they're still having that sort of little bit of school setting, but they've really become friends, and it's a really beautiful way to do school. It's the way I
Sure.
had wanted to, so it's working out for us so far.
Wonderful. Well, Lindsay,
Yeah,
thank you so much for stopping by today and sharing with us about this
yeah,
exciting co-op model for Homeschool Connection. So thank you
sure.
very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you. Thank you.